Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a hypothetical podcast, the show where we ask the simple question and we try to answer the simple question of what if. Today's episode, what if we made a movie? So we got someone who has made a movie before. Please welcome the director of the upcoming short film, Tinder Was The Waltz, Emma Claire Smith.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, brother. Who invited her?
We
did. Oh. Why wasn't I in the room for that decision?
It's not your exam.
That's true. It
True,
wasn't
true,
my
true.
exam.
Yes.
That is true.
Hey, Emma Claire.
Hey.
Tell us about yourself.
Okay. I am about to be a senior at Harding University. I'm studying film and theological studies double with a theater minor. And I just made my first short film, and it was a huge project, and I'm really excited to talk about it today. So thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Yay.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I'd love to hear more about your short film. Do you think you could tell us a brief synopsis about the plot, perchance?
Yes.
You can't just say perchance.
I could say perchance all I please.
You can't just say perchance.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, let me restart then.
Oh.
I'm actually really fascinated by your film, Emma Claire. Do you think you could tell us a little brief synopsis about the plot, mayhaps?
Mayhaps isn't a word.
It is a word.
Absolutely. So the film follows a mentally ill woman as she grapples with the truth that her lover is gone. So it asks some major questions about love. What does real love look like? And is it true love if all you ever do is hurt each other?
Wow.
I'm going to chime in over here real quick. Hey, Kessler.
You are all up in my space.
What is the answer about love? Did you find it while making this movie?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, see, this whole movie was
Did you
actually
help a brother
inspired. Help a brother out. Well, see, the whole thing actually was inspired by F. Scott Fitzgerald and Zelda Fitzgerald. In high school, I'm sure you guys had to do the same. We had to read The Great Gatsby. And I had to write a couple paragraphs about F. Scott himself. And hot take, I didn't really like Gatsby that much, and I wasn't a huge fan of F. Scott. I was just like, okay, he's just some dude. I didn't really like, some of the things that he did. And so it was in that research about him that I learned about Zelda. And Zelda was his wife, and she was incredible. And I was totally enthralled with her entire life and everything that she did and the way that she was just so creative, and the way that F. Scott even used a lot of her work in his own work, and she went uncredited for it. So she was kind of also a pioneering flapper girl in the 1920s. So she was just this, incredible human being that was known, in Europe and all across America in the 1920s, but people have forgotten about her. And so I just became totally I was like, I want to learn everything about her. I'm just completely interested and want to know more. And all I could find when I was in high school and I was reading about them was all these articles talking about how awful they were to each other and about how they cheated on each other. They were constantly drinking.
There's your answer.
Oh, good.
Yeah, right. It was just.
I wasn't taking notes, but I think I would have put the pencil down right about here.
Oh, great. Constant drinking.
Oh, hold on. Picking up that pencil again.
Well, it was the 1920s, and F. Scott really struggled with alcoholism. And Zelda, she was diagnosed with schizophrenia, is what they believed in back then. And so she had her own mental issues that she battled. And so everybody said that they were awful to each other, and their marriage was tumultuous. But they had never seen two people more in love. And that completely puzzled me. And back then, 16-year-old Emma Claire, and even now, 20-year-old Emma Claire, I don't understand how that dichotomy of loving someone but hurting them can exist at the same time. And so, yeah, this film does have an answer to it, and it is what I believe is the correct answer. It's this idea that true love has to involve agape love, whatever that looks like. And so the film has a very unique way of sharing that, and I'm hoping that the audience takes away different things from it. My whole goal was to make a film worth studying. And so once you get to the end of the movie, it's a psychological romance. So there's a pretty big twist. And then every time you go back and rewatch the film, you'll notice something else in either the production design, the makeup, the lines, the position of the actors even, that helps tell the true story of what this love is and what it could be, and also what was holding it back.
Wow. I like the agape love idea. There was a group at that worked with my church when I was a kid called Agape, and it was like adoption stuff, but I've always grown up like hearing about that. That's really cool. Yeah. I'm also very interested in the process of actually making this movie, and I'm going to pass my mic to Campbell because he was there when this was happening.
Yeah.
But I just kind of like, how did you decide how to do that? Like, where did you make it? All of this stuff, and like some stories or whatever.
Yeah. So Campbell, he was one of the very first people to hear about this. It was my freshman year, and I went to the 5-Minute Film Festival. And that night I went home, and this one shot idea came to mind. And it was a woman in a field, and the camera pans around to the front of her face, and a tear falls down her face. And that same night, I stayed up all night, and the entire story just came to me. And so the next day, I called a couple friends, and I was like, listen, I need to make a movie, and this is the plot, and it needs to happen. And they were like, oh, okay, great. And then I was like, and we have to film it in Atlanta. And they were like, oh, okay, great. That's not going to happen. And I was like, no, it's going to. So I went to some of my professors, and they were, kind of similar. When a freshman comes up to them who has no experience in any film at all whatsoever and says, well, they're going to take an entire film crew to Atlanta before they graduate, everybody was just kind of like, okay, good luck, dear, But, 3 years, I just kept working on it. I brought the story, I made the story better. I made it more clear as to what the message should be. I just talked with people that I loved about it, and it just became this extreme passion project for me. And so Campbell, I called him and talk about that. Talk about, what did I say to you? I don't even remember.
Gosh.
It was freshman year, though.
It was freshman year. The
Yeah.
first time I heard about this. I don't remember much about the phone call other than the fact that you said that you needed to talk to other people about it. And I was her first resident male perspective. I remember being told that. I do remember talking about it in the Heritage lobby for a bit.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because we were bouncing shot ideas back and forth.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
do remember that for a bit, and there were some colored decisions that we were talking about. Most of the story, though, I didn't grasp until I read the first draft last semester. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's just because I'm a dude. No, I got most of it, genuinely. It was a very interesting process, I think, for me, because, whoa. Sorry, he turned on the lights.
I was looking for something to do. I'm so out of my depth here. I'm not like a film person, so I was just kind of like, oh,
pretty
what
nice.
can I do that's not grabbing my phone?
Hey, that's good lighting design.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know if it is.
Not really.
It's that like yellow green next to like a cyan. That does not go well together
It's
at
like
all.
a chartreuse screen. Ooh.
That's a word I'm also not familiar with. Chartreuse. What a made-up word. Anyway, continue. I'll just sit here looking all pretty.
What?
Mysterious.
Yeah, your aura is crazy right now.
My aura is wittily unmatched. But yes, don't let me distract you. Yes, please get back to your discussion about the heritage and shots and things.
I don't even remember what I was saying. Sorry, the cyan.
You're talking about the story?
Yep,
story.
I was talking about the story. Ask me a set question. I don't.
Well, really, it was interesting because so much of this happened. Like, I would learn something in the classroom and then immediately have to implement it. And so, I'm just finished up my junior year. So last semester was when I wrote the script in script writing format, which I was learning, and so.
Yeah, we were in that class together at the same time.
Yeah. And so I wrote it and got the final draft in like last semester while we were bringing people onto the project. And so it was unusual in the way that I brought on my producer and then we worked together and we got the rest of the crew. And essentially I just went to them and I was like, listen, I have been working on this film for 3 years and I know it's going to take up your entire spring break, but I love what you do and I love what I've seen of your work and I would be honored to have you on set. And it was just, God delivered and my friends delivered and they were all like, yeah, McClare, we want to support you. And they wanted to support the project. And it was just, the entire time I was never anxious about anything because I knew that God would just put the right people in my life. And he did. And so many people I met for the first time last semester that ended up going to Atlanta with us. And I was like, okay, down to Charles, who played one of the suits. I met him 2 weeks before we left for Atlanta. And I couldn't find any actors to play the other suit. And I was sitting in the stew and I was looking for just like the tall guy with a certain build and like could be intimidating. And I was joking with some of my friends. I was like, okay, that's him. It, like every tall person that walked by. And then I saw Charles and I was like, oh my gosh, no, that's him. So I just walked up to him and I was like, hey, I want you to be in my movie. And we hadn't met before. And now Charles is a really dear friend of mine and he was in the movie and it was just...
He's awesome.
It was so good. And Campbell, was that like one of your first experiences not being an actor on a film set?
Yes. I was going to say that was a great story for how everybody else came onto the project except me. I think that after you called me, I remember the phone call conversation, and then I think the first actual conversation we had about it was that she wanted me to be in it.
Yeah.
I remember that conversation. Mm-hmm. And I was like, sure, I'll do like whatever you want me to do on it. And there were, several story changes. There's still storyboarding ideas. Nothing was on paper yet. I mean, nothing like concrete on paper yet. Mm-hmm. And so it went through rewrites and then character changes. And it was like, oh, yeah, sorry. We still...
Yeah, you might want to check that.
I was like, we still want you, or she's like, I still want you to be on the project. I just don't know in what capacity yet. And it wasn't until about like, a month before we left that I was like, hey, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, am I going still? Or do you just want me to like be there on set for no reason? And she was like,
but it stopped recording, so I started it again.
Okay.
And if you're just tuning in for the first time, man, you missed quite a bit. And McClare did a backflip. Don't ask her to do it again.
She can't.
Her legs are tired.
Mm-hmm. She had too much coffee.
Yeah. You know
Don't talk to me till I've had my coffee.
Well,
5:40.
So it was 5 o'clock 40 minutes ago.
Well, the thing is with Campbell, I had seen him perform in our Acting 1 class. And you did that monologue that was... Oh, it was just fantastic. And something about this story is that half of the story takes place in a psychiatric hospital room. Spoiler. And it's it's in black and white, and then there's another timeline that's in color. And so when I saw Campbell perform, I was like, oh, I want him to be the main character. But the whole story is based off of Zelda. And so for a long time I was looking for performers, but I knew that I didn't know of anybody that could perform as well as Campbell. And so I was like, okay, I'll gender swap it. I'll make the main character a guy and we'll still make it about Zelda. But then as time went by, I just realized, no, it needs to be a woman because I need to do justice for Zelda. Because her entire life, it was, she lived in the shadow of the man, and she never had the opportunity to step out. And so I had to do that for her. And so we had to move things around. But Campbell, you would have been Ada if I did not make it a woman.
I just needed to transition. Dang it. Are you kidding me?
And I was expecting that of you, but...
No. I know. I remember she told me that. Well, she told me the first time. She's like, yeah, I just saw you do the Acting 1 and it made me think of like, psychotic breakdown, like mental thing is what I want. And I was like, oh.
Yep.
Great. That's...
Yeah, you play a crazy person real well.
And then she actually told me the story of why she changed it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I would have told you to change that. I would have felt so awful if I hadn't known and then just gone on and done the production. Been like, I'm not sure I'm supposed to be a guy. That's a character question. That's not a me question. No.
University.
Okay, I know.
Please, I only have one more year. Calm down.
So I have a question.
Okay.
So
Have you
I'm
been on this podcast?
Hey, why don't you pipe
Why
down?
do you have the permanent mic and not me?
True,
Because
that's
I
a good
chose where I was
question.
going to sit first.
You need a freaking burrito.
A burrito bowl.
And we had to
know.
spend an hour and a half
Fixing the
mic.
audio.
Yeah, and that was not my fault. I will have you know.
My fault.
Now, let's get back to my very important question.
Okay.
So, as somebody who is also an artist in one way, a lot of times people will ask you questions about that.
Mm-hmm.
How difficult was it for you to be concise and not get too passionate about what you're talking about in order to give them a good idea of what you're talking about? Now, I am asking about a specific day. There's one day you were asked a lot of questions about Tender Was the Waltz as a film, but you were also eating, I don't know if I remember, but you were eating a lot of
Hot
spicy
wings.
wings.
Hot
wings.
wings. Hot wings.
Have you, so it reminded me of the show Hot Ones a little bit. You and your producer were sitting on the Benson stage in chairs with a table in front of you. There were plates, there were hot wings. So how was that experience? Was there like a kick to it? Or?
Oh yeah, you can.
I remember
There's
not
definitely
many
a kick.
questions being answered and a lot more of going, oh man, this is hot. Oh man. Oh. So I would just like you to elaborate on that just a little bit.
Yeah. So
I was there for that.
this was
the
a
rest of the
Tuesday
filming.
morning, for reference. I get a call Monday
Tuesday.
morning from my producer the day before, and he's like, "Emma Claire, I was just contacted by the SGA here at Harding, and they want us to do a chapel talk for their like series of chapel things that they were doing for the SGA, and I believe Illuminate." That was it, right?
It was bringing light to things on campus that are
Yes.
student-led, yeah.
And so they had seen some of the Tender Was the Waltz posts on Instagram. They had seen us sharing our GoFundMe, trying to get this project off the ground. And they reached out to him. They were like, hey, we'd love for you to be in chapel. And so Lucas called me, and he was like, Emma Claire, they gave us they want us to do it tomorrow. Can we do that? And I was like, I don't know about tomorrow. Maybe let's do a different week if possible. And he was like, well, no, they really need us to fill it tomorrow. And I'm putting my foot down. I'm saying we're doing it tomorrow. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And so the first thing was we were talking. We were like, well, we don't just want this to be a conversation, like something that people fall asleep to.
Yeah, that'd be boring.
Yeah. And see,
We've
so
never had that problem at chapel.
and so we were like, we need to do something that's really interesting, that will keep the student body engaged, that will make them want to listen and see what we're talking about. And so Lucas goes, he was just like, I mean, Emma Claire, this needs to be something like Hot Ones in chapel, okay? And then I was like, Lucas, that's it.
He's like, right out of the gate.
What? I was like,
That is some top-tier problem solving.
right? Well,
I wish I could do that.
I like people to be engaged, sort of like Hot Ones, but I don't know how we could do that.
And I was like, and that's it. And so I told him, I was like, no, we need to do Hot Ones on the Benson stage at 9 a.m. in the morning. And he was like, okay. So he called the SGA people back, and they approved it. And so we got the wings. And then I reached out to Max Sandlin because he makes his own hot sauces, and he provided those for us. And he made a special one, the hottest hot sauce he's ever made. He didn't even try it. He made it that morning, and he didn't even try it. He just gave it to us, and we were like, "Oh, okay, great." And so,
What
yeah,
a landlord.
we
Love
had-
that guy.
it was awesome. It was awesome, terrifying. I mean, so hard to make cohesive sentences, but it was 9 a.m. in front of a couple thousand people eating Hot Ones, trying to talk about your film.
Through adversity, you were still able to remain passionate and concise.
I tried.
What a time. I'm going to clap away from the microphone
Wow,
here.
thank you.
So what I'm hearing is that was the
She was not
first ever
concise.
woman-planned chapel at Harding University.
Well, yeah, right.
After having our second ever woman speaking chapel, and there was some controversy around that. So
Yes.
we're really making some progress in Cersei.
We sure are. We sure are.
Well, that's because there was a food item involved, so.
Yeah.
It's terrible. I
Yeah, well,
can't say
wait.
that. Oh
Hang
my
on.
goodness.
I don't know if they could hear that, but if they could, it's staying in.
You should bleep out his face.
Well, Emma Claire, you're not only a movie director, you are many other things. So we want to ask you.
A bad driver, for one.
Backhanded compliment.
Okay.
That's not what I meant.
I know.
You have many other hobbies. One of them I have heard is Call of Duty, and I would like to ask you some questions about that.
We'd actually like you to show off your skills in the monitor.
Yes, we have an Xbox 360
Oh my
right
gosh.
there.
Okay, I'm ready.
I think I've played with you, and if my memory serves me, I think you washed me in that game. It was a blowout. Mario did not serve me well.
For FPS, no, probably not.
It did not.
Yeah, my uncle loved video games growing up, and so whenever we'd go visit my grandma for Christmas, my brother and I would play with them, and Call of Duty Black Ops 2 is probably one of my most favorite games of all time. And my brother and I, we did like gun games, stuff like that, but we also love zombies. And that specifically is my favorite game of all time. And so, I mean, to this day, I still have it on my Xbox. I play it regularly. We have every single map, all the DLCs, the skins, like all of it. It's great.
What's your favorite map?
You know, I have to say that my favorite map is actually Origins. I really like doing the Easter egg on it. The Panzer is terrifying. I, to this day, have nightmares about the Panzer, especially the rounds when there's like a bajillion of them and you're trying to go to the crazy place and, all of it. It's terrifying, but I love it. It's exhilarating.
It's a fantastic game. I have also played many a zombie rounds with my
What's your
brother.
favorite map?
From that game?
Yeah, I'm asking all of you. From zombies.
Mine is Mob of the Dead, but that's just because I'm a
classic.
big Alcatraz. Like, I think the story of it is really cool and how they're trapped in purgatory while also having to fight zombies.
Yeah.
And I think the overarching story of all of them is actually really cool. But, like, the fact that they're gangsters in a zombie outbreak prison on Alcatraz, there's just so many layers of, like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then they try and build a plane and they crash on the Golden Gate Bridge. That's so cool.
It really is.
And then I remember specifically one of my earliest memories on that map was playing with my brother, and he showed me the little like sniper jump scare spot.
Oh my
on the
goodness,
roof.
yeah. Uh-huh.
And I actually threw my controller because I was like 9 years old. It actually almost made me cry.
Oh no.
That's when I vowed I was never going to get scared by jump scares again.
Oh.
All right, Kessler.
All right.
Do you have a favorite map?
My favorite COD map. I think like one of the first times I played COD was that aforementioned time that Emma Claire just absolutely demolished me in COD. So I don't remember any of the maps. However, I have played some other games.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
What's your favorite game?
My favorite game?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I like Smash. That one's fun.
Classic.
It's a classic. I like Pokemon. That one's also good.
Yeah.
The closest, I think, shooter game, like the FPS shooter game that I've played, would have to be GoldenEye 007 for the Wii.
Now that's a
Oh
good
my
for
goodness.
the Wii on Virtual Console.
No, not for Virtual Console. They made a version for the Wii.
Why?
Because it was awesome. No, you would aim with the Wii controller, move around with the nunchuck, and that was like, my dad secretly thought I was lame. And he wanted me...
I don't think that's a secret.
It wasn't, but he didn't tell any of the other parents. But he thought I needed to try out some more mature games, as opposed to just playing Smash and Mario Kart and Mario Party and Lego Star Wars. All good games, but he got us GoldenEye 007 for the Wii. It was a remake of a game... Not a remake, more like a spiritual successor to a game that came out on the Nintendo 64, GoldenEye 007.
A very revolutionary.
Yes, a very revolutionary game. The differences that it made was that it wasn't running on the worst controller of all time. It was only running on like maybe the runner-up for that. So
For an FPS, definitely.
yeah, it was really good actually. I will have you know, the pointer of the Wii controller, everybody's familiar with that. You'd point, and that's how you would aim, and it was really fun. And you move around with the nunchuck, and you'd shoot with the little trigger with the B button. It was quite fun, actually. There was, I think Casino Royale was a really good map. That one was fun. There was also one that was outside a lot, and I just remember what we ended up doing the entire time. I don't know how balanced the game was. It probably wasn't, because every single time we would just use the snipers and just be waiting for somebody to move. I don't think it was very balanced at all, but it was really fun. So that's probably the closest I got, unless you count like Splatoon or something.
That's
but
good.
I'm not.
Splatoon's a good game.
It is a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but GoldenEye, I like that one. We'll go with Casino Royale.
Yeah. I have also played very little COD Zombies. I've played gun game on Nuketown
Good.
many times.
And now we're in
I
2025,
love gun game on Nuketown.
which is insane.
Oh yeah.
I have played one round of COD Zombies on a Bloons Tower Defense theme modded map, which is really fun because you can become the sun god monkey and you win the game.
Wukong?
No, like the Sun Temple Aztec.
Oh, from Bloons Tower Defense.
That is so
Yes.
sick.
I thought you were talking about like from Chinese mythology.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the actual figure.
And I was like, that's pretty neat. You know,
Yeah,
get
so-
a little Infernape action going, you know?
Dude, a Pokemon COD map would kind of go crazy.
I-
It'll never
do
happen, but that'd be awesome.
We need to-
Let's make it
do
happen.
We've
Let's
got
do
Pal
it.
World going up.
Power World.
Running up Pal World.
So yeah, I haven't played much COD Zombies. That's the only map that I've played, and it was really fun. I've played Left 4 Dead a little bit. I like the mall. The mall is probably my favorite Left 4 Dead map. And then from a map from other games, because I don't feel like Bloons Tower Defense map really counts. Rainbow Road for Nintendo 64.
Yes.
Ooh,
I was always a big
that's gotta be it.
Picking maps.
I like the
Yeah, we're
Coconut
just picking
Mall.
maps.
Coconut Mall was always my favorite.
Coconut
Kanto, I
Mall.
like
Coconut
Kanto.
Mall. Mm-hmm.
Hoen's not bad
You can't
either.
say the whole region from Pokemon.
Well, guess what? I am.
You could say Route 209 from Diamond and Pearl. But you
Okay,
can't
tell
say
me what
Oh
all
my
Route
goodness,
209
Diamond
from
was
Route
my
209
favorite.
It has the best music in the entire Pokemon series.
Can I hear a rendition?
No.
Is it babble 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 babble
Wow.
babble
It's
babble
the
babble
bum 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 bum.
Yeah, I know.
That and National Park from Gen 2 from Heart Gold.
That one's
That's
not
the
bad
one I
either. What's another map I like?
I love video game maps of all kinds.
Yes.
They're pretty fun.
That was a great question. That made me really happy.
We just did not answer the question.
We did
Two
not
of us
answer
did
the
not.
question.
It's pretty good.
Say that again.
Oh, speaking of which, as a filmmaker, I would like your opinions on the new Fantastic Four movie that's coming out. Sorry, something he said reminded me of that.
Have you seen any of them?
I have not seen Fantastic. Okay.
We're having some technical difficulties.
Emma Claire, what are you doing? My goodness.
You broke the
You
camera.
cannot bring that into a recording studio.
put that thing
away.
away.
Ruh-roh.
We only need this for this episode.
Okay, perf.
What in the world?
The Fantastic Four movies, I haven't seen them in years. Years. I mean, so long. The cast looks like an interesting cast from what I've seen, but I haven't kept up with it
pretty solid.
a lot.
You got my goat Pedro.
I think Campbell's more the person to ask about that, or Aiden.
I have seen 2 of the 3 Fantastic Four movies that have come out. Fantastic Four in like 2001?
2005.
2005, and then the other one in 2008.
Yeah,
Rise of the Silver Surfer.
I think it's 7 or 8.
Yeah, one of the two. And then there's one that came out 2014?
15.
2015? Oh, it was... I got through the first 15 minutes, and then I couldn't even finish the movie. It was so bad.
Miles Teller, Michael B.
Oh,
Jordan.
yeah.
The Thing.
That is a movie.
I've
is
never
it.
been to space before.
That is not from that movie. That is from Spider-Man.
Spider-Man and his amazing friends. Oh, yeah. A big part of the Fantastic Four's origin is that they all get their powers by going to space to study who knows what, and they get hit by cosmic radiation. So, like, the whole big thing is that they all went to space.
They're
There's-
all astronauts.
Yeah.
That is a thing.
That's the entire point.
The Thing? What a character. But then there was a Spider-Man TV show where... Yeah, I thought that was funny. There's a Spider-Man TV show called Spidey and His Amazing Friends, and Spider-Man takes the Thing to space, and he says, "I've never been to space before. Sounds like fun." So I'm interested to see how that changes the Marvel mythos in a way.
I have an almost probably more refined pivot question from the Fantastic Four trailer question
Great.
for Emma Claire, since she is the guest.
This is the first episode.
No, this is the second,
second
episode.
episode.
This is-
My bad, I lied.
How do you feel about the certain scale of theatrical releases as compared to other media releases of movies. That's not just like subscription-based things, but things not coming out in theaters / the decline of the movie theater experience.
I'm glad you explained that. I was so lost.
Yeah, I did not word any of that well, but that is the main question. How do you feel about like the decline of popularity for movie theaters and sudden reinvigoration for movie theater experiences? Because that is the thing going on right now.
Yeah. Well, I think I actually wrote a paper about this my freshman year about the decline of movie theaters since COVID, especially because I mean, so many movie theaters closed. And I mean, the majority, especially depending on your age, a lot of people prefer seeing movies for the first time at home now and just streaming it. Personally, I don't agree with that. I think that there's something so special in going to the theater and having that communal experience with a huge group of strangers, you know? These stories, they're meant to be told to big audiences, you know? And for a lot of people to be able to resonate. And so to go to a place with, you know, maybe a couple hundred complete strangers and experience a story together, and we all might take different things from it, but the experience together is what's so important. And that at the core of it, that's what humanity is connection. And so I really have loved all of the re-releases lately with Star Wars for the 20th anniversary and Pride and Prejudice. And you know, people are going back to the theaters now, and I support it. I hope that people continue to do that because, I mean, there's just something different about going out and having that occasion together, especially for new movies. And for, I mean, think about it. Theater, that's one of our oldest forms of entertainment ever in history. And cinema is very, very, very similar. So I don't expect it to, completely die out within our lifetime. Definitely not. Is it something that could happen in the future? Unfortunately, that probably will be the case one day.
Thank you for your wise words of wisdom.
I feel like I'm struggling trying to make sentences that make any sense. So,
it's okay. Did you hear me ask that question?
No, it was great. It was great.
I had a stroke.
Emma Claire, if there could be a chicken jockey level, if there could be like a chicken jockey level media trend for Tender Was the Waltz, if a full feature length was made, what would be like the scene that everybody would like go crazy for?
Oh my goodness. Well, that's actually such a great question. No,
it's not.
Well, no, it is because it gives me an opportunity to talk about this. I've actually been writing the feature length version this entire semester. While, you know, when I had the short version finished, the dream has always been to make the short film, see if it goes anywhere, and maybe get a feature length picked up, or maybe even produce it ourselves and do it later on down the road. And so I went ahead and I have the first draft of the feature length version written right now. And man, there's one scene in it that, I mean, because it's a psychological romance and not a comedy, it's going to be a very different sort of chicken jockey sort of thing, you know? But
my husband cheated.
I lit this trash can on fire.
That's a 20-foot tall fire in my grandma's backyard.
This is
Flint and steel.
Flint and steel. That's it. Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, even
am Gatsby.
For the short film, you know, there are so many, like, everything's practical, and that was something that I really was adamant about. And so for the feature length, it would be the same thing. It would be those really big practical scenes where we just kind of take things to the next level for where we're at. I think those would be the moments that the audience is like, okay, this is the moment that would, you know, get the Instagram or TikTok videos made about it. Oh my.
So you said something that I'd like you to elaborate a little bit on.
Okay.
You said the entire thing was done practically. Was that on purpose? Is there a specific reason why no VFX were involved whatsoever?
Yeah, I mean, I knew when I was writing the script, and I told my crew this, that there's just especially with what we have available to us as students, making good visual effects that's extremely challenging. Yes, doing it practical is also very challenging, but there's no way to guarantee that it will look real and good unless you do it practically. And so, I told them walking into it, I was like, no, I need a 20-foot fire, like minimum, and it's got to happen. And, we did it. And so obviously we followed standards, and we had safety people there, and we had a fire marshal on set. And so there's a way to go about it, but it was also like we were able to do it very cheap, whereas if we were to go in and post and try and find a good editor that can make it look realistic, we'd have to pay a lot of money. We're working with a student budget here, so and on that, the majority of our budget was completely donated just because people wanted to help us. And so this is something that I want this to be the best it possibly can with what we have. And so I knew that the practical effects would be the best route to take.
Nice.
Well, Emma Claire, thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thank you.
For the second episode.
Yes, for the second
episode.
You are our first ever guest.
I'm so honored. I'm so honored.
I have one final question for you.
Okay.
If you could pose a hypothetical question to whoever our next guest may be, what would it be?
Oh, man.
Oh, that's a good end the tagline. I'm glad we've been doing it
came
for
up with
2
that
episodes.
3 minutes ago.
That's fantastic. Okay, if I could pose. If they had to live in any other country in the world outside of America for 10 years, why would they do it? And what would be the most challenging part of it for them?
Interesting.
I think that's an interesting.
Canada, because it's gonna get bought by the U.S.
No, okay, quit that.
Doesn't count.
Wait, I
It's
would
gonna
like.
count.
Can I put a little plug in for something for the film
Yes.
real quick? This fall we are having our private screening, and we are submitting to film festivals starting in August. So 2026 is when we'll start getting answers. Going into this, I told them even if this goes nowhere, we still came together and we made something that we're really proud of, and something that I'm really proud of and I love, and it's by the grace of God that this all happened and the kindness of other people. So if we don't win any film festivals, that's okay, because we still did something great. However, if we do win festivals, wow! So be on the lookout. We'll see. And private screening here in Searcy in the fall. And we're also hoping to have one in Atlanta as well. So yeah, it'll go
Very
until
fun.
tickets sell. Gone. The end. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Of course. Thank
Anytime.
you. Thank you again for coming on.
It wasn't a burden.
Oh, okay. Great.
You were a wonderful guest. Thank you.
Wow, that's the nicest
You
thing
were
Campbell's
so
ever said to
great.
me.
2 of us voted to
I
have you on
enjoyed
here.
this conversation very much.
Oh, I guess only one of us voted to have you on.
All right. Well, I think that's all the time we have, but we'll see everyone next time. Maybe we'll have a guest. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll be here. Probably not. I have
Fantastic.
no idea. But one day,
Say that again.
the hypothetical podcast will return. We will answer again your what if questions. Thank you.
Woo, thank you.
Hypothetically, we will answer your questions.
Get out.
Okay.
Leave.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
so much. What was that?
That was a performative laugh.